And Kuzwa, hello over there.
Hello.
Yep, so Alexa, you're going to take some notes for us today, is that correct?
Yep. Okay.
I figured we'd just go around the screen. I'll call you out. So if you can state your name and anything else you want to share briefly, that's fine. I'm Erin Minster. I am the technical coordinator for the Curry Watersheds Partnership and the Soil and Water Conservation District, and I am the GAG lead, in case you didn't know. Caitlin.
Do you mean me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's Catlin, but I go by Katie.
Caitlin.
I
Oh,
go
no,
by
I
Katie.
never picked up on that. Well, I'm glad we're doing introductions.
I'm Katie Woodruff. I'm the district conservationist for NLCS. I cover Coos and Coley counties, and for those that don't know, we have a Gorse funding to move on a small woodland and then ag properties, privately operated ag.
Thank you, and again, my apologies. I think I just chalked it up to another way to spell Caitlin, and I didn't even read it. So my apologies, Catlin. All right, Marie.
Hi there, I'm Marie Simons. I'm the Executive Director at the Bandon Dunes Charitable Foundation. We are a funder.
Scott.
I'm Atkinson, maintenance manager with ODOT. We cover from the California border to the Bandon Fortitude.
Great, thanks for being here today, Scott. Matt.
Yeah, Matt Swanson. I do watershed restoration work and invasive weed management in Coos and Curry counties.
Perfect, thanks for joining. Ms. Goldie.
Hi, happy Tuesday, everyone. Goldie Warnke from the Coos Bay BLM on botany and weeds.
Jason.
All right, there I am. Jason Krall, Vegetation Management Coordinator for the City of Bandon.
Thanks, Jason. Robert.
Good morning, everybody. Or afternoon, I guess I should say. Robert Franson, CFPA District Aviation Coordinator and Forest Land Classification Coordinator.
Okay, thanks for joining, Robert. You haven't seen Robert in a long time, so this is fun. Ivy.
I'm Ivy Randall, the Noxious Weeds Project Manager for the Cookville Watershed.
Thank you, Ivy. And we got a phone number at the end, 404-0872. Is that somebody's audio?
That's me. This is Paula Thompson with Bandon Dunes Charitable Foundation.
All right, thanks. Welcome, Paula. All right. All right, welcome everybody. So I'm just gonna do a couple general updates first, and then we'll get into some things. So the biggest news is there is no Gorse Blossom Festival happening. So there you have it. You know, you have the weekend off now, I guess. So how's that? Jason, is there any thoughts on maybe trying to resurrect it next year, or maybe in a different way, or anything to add?
Yes, I will certainly advocate for President's Day weekend 2025, which is traditionally the weekend it's occurred. I'll start putting the word out right now.
All right.
Erin, this is Marie. From what I understand, I think the festival sort of just morphed itself to like a seafood and wine festival that's being put on by Lori Osborne, who owns the Farm and Sea and leases that big building for the port. I didn't know, it's not called the Gorse Festival, but I didn't know if anyone had had a conversation with her around if there are any educational opportunities during her festivals that she's putting on, or if we should just go a different direction.
I have not spoken with Lori about it.
Yep, I have not either, was not aware that that's what was happening, so. Yep. But maybe we can reach out, might be a little short notice now, but, yeah. Maybe we can reach out and I'll ask if there's even just like a place to put out information if possible, so something like that. I have notes today. Yeah, I guess that was really all the general updates I had. I am always looking for helpers with the website or content to update the website. It's gotten a little stale, I'd say, over the last year. So if anybody has ideas or things, we want to refresh with, that would be great. Just reach out to me. I'm happy just to take content and do it. But it's always that making content that is the struggle. So that's my pitch for that. Looks like we have a new person, 2901018. You want to introduce yourself?
Hi, it's Liza. I'm here.
Oh, she's here. Never mind. We're gonna just meet the whole time.
Liza Ailey, Windward Gardens.
Thanks, Liza, for being here. You didn't miss much. Just announcing that the Gorse Blossom Festival is not happening.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So the first agenda item is the annual report. I'm going to share my screen. So I'm just going to run through this for everybody if you haven't done it before. It's going to basically be the same format. Give me a second. Okay. Does everybody see that? Okay. So yeah, if you haven't done this before, I'll be sending it out. We're gonna need a pretty quick turnaround for this. I'm behind on sending it out to you guys. Usually send it in December, but I did not get to it yet. Samara will be helping us again, put it together. So I'm just gonna run through it and describe the sections again. And for all of you federal or state folks where things get filtered out in your browsers, I'll be sending this link, but I know just real quick in the past, these maps were blocked by some of your folks. So I will try to send those also as an attachment for that, but let's just go through it. So it's broken up into sections, and this is mostly about where the treatments occur. Well, maybe I'll skip to the map. So we have these core containment areas. And then everywhere else around there is kind of a prevention situation. So if you're doing work outside of those areas, we consider prevention, outliers and EDRR work. So please fill out this section here. Real basic, we're just really looking for metrics, how many sites and how many landowners. Best you can do. If you want to give me a lot of details about the project, that's fine. Go ahead and do that. Just do it down here in this bottom box. And there's always the beautiful box of individual plants pooled. So don't be scared to say you pulled a couple. It's important. Section 2 is about core infestations, and this is where the maps show up. Basically, we're just looking for the work that's done in these core infestations, mostly because it's more of a strategic approach. Or more of a resource-driven approach to where funds and there's capacity to do that. But again, basically the same questions: how many sites and how many landowners, and estimated acreage or miles of roadside for the folks like ODOT. It's a little easier that way. And if you work on projects with another agency or another partner, just go ahead and check in that whomever's submitting it is fine, or you guys can double submit and tell me you double submitted, it's either way. Capacity and outreach, so, this is really about grant writing and funding and capacity and how, efforts to, educate our community, all those parts. So if you've done any of those things, please, put it in here. And then we have a contractor section. One, we'd like to thank our contractors. So if you could just list who you worked with this year. And then if you are a contractor and you want to boast about the work you've done, you feel free to fill in the second box. Happy to report those numbers as well. Certainly some of the landowner-led stuff gets lost, and I like to try to bring, highlight that it's not just us doing things. There are other people doing it on their own.
Aaron, I have a question on
Yeah.
that contractor part. If you had a contractor do work for you, do you assume that the contractor is going to fill this out as well, or do you fill it out for the contractor?
I fill out all my sites that I have paid someone to work on.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. And I think we've only ever maybe had 1 or 2 contractors submit in the past. But I think I do say there, yes, to just report where private landowners that hired you directly. So trying to drive them to just, that outside stuff that's not with the rest of us here. And then the wrap up is really basic. So we do have a looking ahead section to the annual reports. That's always a good place to stick something that's coming up. Will you be sending photos for any of the sections? Just please mark yes. And you can email them to the Gorse Action Group at gmail.com and I'll just pick those up. And then is there anything else that, isn't captured above? So if you want to wax poetically about something, there's your chance. We often need, space to fill and make it look nice. So happy to have those things as well. So that's the annual reporting form.
What you say?
It's not much different than last
Yeah.
year. And, I'm going to give folks, I guess my question to the group is, I'm behind. So is 2 weeks too short of a timeline? Should I give, no, says Anders.
I have us muted here.
Hey, Liza, can you mute yourself?
Yeah, I thought I did mute you. Did you hear me, huh?
I can.
How's that?
No,
Okay, sorry.
I'll mute you. I got you. I muted you, Liza. Okie doke. Yeah, so any questions about the annual report? So since Anders is the only one that shook his head no, I think we'll go with like kind of a 2-week window. Obviously, if you don't make it, just let me know. We can always pile stuff in the end. But I would like to get that out there. In case anyone doesn't know about the annual reports, there is a page on the website, projects. I'm just gonna share my screen one more time here. Okay, so under projects, if you go to this tab, this is our projects page where we have some of our historic projects that we've worked on. And this is where I stick the partner accomplishments. So if you want to see what they look like in the past, that's where they are. They're always there. And this one will go up there at that time too. So. Okay. Sorry, I feel like I'm really talking really fast because I kind of had a hectic day and I just came flying into this meeting. So I apologize if I'm just rambling forward. You can feel free to stop me, anyone. All right, so I think maybe I might switch up the agenda just a little bit. I don't think that's of much consequence, but I did want to review the Gorse containment map, and since it's part of the annual reporting, I thought we'd just go over that now, and then we'll talk about the contractor list in a minute. So. Okay. This part. All right, so everybody see the map? Okay. I see nodding heads. All right. Okay, so if you haven't seen this before, this is something that we came up with several years ago. It kind of encapsulates our strategy about core containment and then kind of everything outside of there. Let me open my. So this here is the legend. I have these color coded. I'm going to turn the city limits off right now because they kind of show up sometimes. So, now it takes my labels away. Okay, sorry. So we do actually have multiple styles of control. So these big green areas are our core containment. There's 2 of those. This is Bandon and this one down here, which is I think I call it Port Orford, Elk River. Those are basically the 2 main areas of, heavy infestation. You can't really separate where the gorse is from where it's not or where it has been before. From there we have, so those are the core containment. We have 2 of those. We have EDRR containment. So this is just a slightly different take on the containment. So this is Flores Creek EDRR containment. The reason it's a little bit different is that Curry Watersheds started on this early on in the early 2000s, and it was kind of scattered patches. So we really in here have been working on it and really don't have a lot of big infestation. And it's really just an EDRR show, but it is kind of spread out over a lot of spaces. So that's kind of why we call it EDRR containment. And then we have a similar one down in Brookings around the Harris Beach area as well. It's kind of the same story, a couple larger patches, but mostly it's confined, and we're just trying to keep it within these bounds here. And this one has quite a few active partners within the GAG, myself, State Parks. State Parks probably has the bulk of the infestation, and then ODOT helps with the right of way down there fairly well. So other than that, the private properties are pretty scattered, and then the further south outliers still to this day are a couple spots down in Winchuck along the highway right in here. So doing pretty good containing that in Brookings. And then from there, is this showing okay, or is the windows going in and out too much? No? Medium? Sweet.
Looking good on my end.
Okay, cool. It's hard to tell from here. So yeah, and then from there we have various kinds of control. And control is more like, so like we have all these EDRR control here. So these are specific projects that partners are working on where, and most of these are up here in Coos Bay, where you guys just kind of have these patches out there and you're chasing them with some of the timber industry folks. And so for now, they're called control EDRR. I think, they may move into that EDRR containment type, zone if we want to move them over as we learn a little bit more. But it sounds like you guys are still getting a good handle on all that up there. So
yeah, it's looking pretty good. We can talk about that some of the areas later, Aaron.
okay.
Yeah.
So, but that's all these little blue blobs. So, thankfully, it sounds like maybe we found a few new areas outside of there, but it's mostly within those spaces, right?
Yeah, there's some areas of core infestation. A lot of them, some of them thankfully are on large tracts of land that are privately held, like Weyerhaeuser or Coos County Forestry. So we can tackle those pretty easily, or Pony Reservoir, for example. But we found a couple other locations that are spread out in backyards, and that's when you start getting into the contract nightmare of just, getting all the signatures to deal with the infestation. And that might be, I can chat with you later, Aaron, in terms of how we want to classify some of these, but, I'll also send you some shape files that are a little bit updated from what we have here, but, yeah, for the most part, that looks pretty accurate.
Cool. Yeah, and just to remind everyone, outside, it's not like there's not gorse outside of these. I'll just turn on my gorse layer for the visual. You know, there's more. So, but you know, a lot of these we're starting to get around them. Dustin Williams, who is our in-house applicator, he takes care of a lot of these outlier ones. We're starting to really accumulate the none found on, you know, follow-up monitoring. So I think we had 50 or 60 of those last year. So that feels really good. Unfortunately, sometimes for every one of those, there's a new one somewhere else. So, but we do keep on top of it. And then I think the last style is just these control. And again, these are just kind of specific projects that are happening. You know, often they, like out here at the airport. So this is the Cape Blanco Airport here. This is all owned by Parks. There's continued effort here to control this, and we just use these to kind of call out, you know, kind of priority projects that folks are doing where maybe it's within a core infestation, but you know, it's they have a reason and funds to make sure that there's pretty heavy active treatment there. So that's the gorse containment zones. And part of the reason I wanted to review it is just one, to review it with everyone for the sake of anyone who hadn't seen it before, although the room's a little small today. But you know, the other thing, and I'm kind of glad Robert's here, you know, is that currently Curry County is going through a community wildfire protection plan update. And this is the type of thing that could be shared with them to, you know, kind of help guide that plan. Gorse has fit heavily into earlier community wildfire protection plans in Curry County, and it's, you know, this is another way to kind of show them where that is and advocate for that. So Robert, I know you're kind of in aviation now, but have you been involved with the CWPP? I think you were on that big call back in December.
Yeah, I made it onto the one call. That's the intent with my new district position, is try to stay involved with like the CWPPs and everything. That way we get the uniformity across all of the counties we protect, Coos, Curry, and Western Douglas. I think I got on the mailer list, but I haven't seen anything come out recently. So if you see anything, Aaron, shoot it to me to make sure I get on the list, and I'll eventually get on their mailing list so I make all the meetings and stuff. But that's the intent.
Okay, cool. Yeah, same. I haven't heard much either. I thought there was gonna be some follow-up after that, and I haven't heard a single thing. So yeah, maybe we'll keep an eye out.
Yeah, and just so it's on your radar too. Coos County's in the process of re-looking at their CWPP, and they're actively starting to, you know, build that. And same thing, they told me I was going to be on their mailing list, and as soon as they get something concrete schedule wise, they'll let me know, and I'll try to keep you guys in the loop as well.
Cool. Do you know if they've, you know, enlisted the same firm, or are they just in that stage of things?
I think they've enlisted a state firm, and they're doing some stuff with either OSU or U of O, and they're doing some coordination right now, just kind of gathering data, reviewing the old stuff, and then they'll be having a coordinators meeting here, hopefully within the next several months, is kind of their game plan. But we'll see how quickly they can get all their ducks in a row.
Okay, great. Yeah, if you hear more from Coos County folks too, be great to get the Gorse in there, and feel free to throw me out there if we need to. Cool. Alex is here, I see. Thanks, Alex, for showing up. You want to just introduce yourself real quick?
Sure. Sorry I was late. We are trying to hire interns, so I had to interview someone.
But I'm Alex. I'm the refuge manager at Van Marsh Wildlife Refuge with the Fish and Wildlife Service.
Awesome, thanks, and good luck with hiring interns.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, anybody have any questions about the map or the annual report? Okay, fair enough. We are flying through this, but I think the next subject might take a little longer. Okay, so we're gonna go to the contractor list discussion. Always a lively affair. Okay, so we've talked about this in the past a little bit. But you know, as things heat up, particularly in Bandon, I think there's a need to kind of change it up a little bit and make sure we have a process for getting folks on and off the list if we need to. And there's been some ideas thrown around about how to manage that. So let's see. I'm going to share my screen again. I guess it's a day of sharing screens. And I do just want everybody to know there is time at the end for partner updates. So we will go around the room and it won't be me talking the whole time. Okay. I do like to talk though, so. Okie dokie. So here's the current version of the contractors list. We updated it last year in April. In that time, we've had some people request to be put on the list. There's maybe some discussion about taking a couple folks off who aren't responsive. So I just wanted to start the conversation here with a reminder that you know, this list is a not a recommendation list. Many of us work for agencies who cannot recommend contractors, but we do want to make it such that, you know, the folks on this list we do know are capable and able and willing to you know, approach Gorse in a way that is not just dragging it all over the place, for lack of saying it a different way. And you know, that they can clean their equipment and, you know, that they have an understanding of just how bad the Gorse is and some of the things needed to get a good control on the Gorse. So a couple thoughts have come to mind. And I think it sounds like Alexa maybe will be doing some of the updating for this, but what we do also need is probably Carrie did it last year where she reached out to all the contractors and you know, checked in with them. And I think if we add a couple things, we'll need to do that anyway. So my first real question is around the subject of, we've batted around the idea in the past of having some sort of class or module or something that a contractor would have to do to be on this list. I did talk to Liza about this a little bit. And we thought maybe like a PowerPoint or a video module that would be canned and that they could watch, you know, and with maybe a little test at the end would be a good thing to kind of throw out there. We don't want to take up too much of their time. We don't want it to be a burden, but again, we kind of want to get around this idea that, you know, it's important not to drag that Gorse around when you're doing this work. So, does anyone have any thoughts on that aspect of it? Like, do you think does anyone feel like it's, you know, unreasonable to ask that, or any idea, any feelings? All right. So let's make them do something. So I don't know if Liza's trying to unmute herself. So Liza said she could probably put something together like a quick PowerPoint, you know, and then maybe a couple of us could help with questions at the end. How's that sound?
Yeah, I think it just depends on how long we're expecting the contractor to, you know, take the class for. Because it is, you know, it's a benefit to be on this list. I would imagine that, you know, people in Bandon are looking at this list and contacting contractors from this list because of this list. So, but if it's something like it, you know, I guess the question to ask is how much time investment are we looking at these contractors maybe taking on a module?
Yeah, definitely less than an hour. I would like to see something that's maybe about a half an hour.
Yeah, I personally, I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, because this list, you know, it gets passed out. You know, sometimes I have folks that are just, you know, looking for these types of contractors as well, and I'll just kick it over to them. You know, even if it's not Gorse. Jason, do you guys feel like you need a Bandon specific list?
I liked your idea of maybe just some kind of a notation that would indicate abandoned service area, maybe.
Okay, yeah, so that was one of the things we talked about was you know, having these folks designate their service area.
Yeah, if I could just cut down on people calling guys that don't want to come to Bandon, then that would
Yeah.
help.
Okay.
Aaron, do you have a timeline for when when the module will be made online?
No, not currently.
Okay.
I would think that, well, that's a good question. You know, is it, you know, because you know, if we're gonna hit folks up for service area, is now the time, you know, do we wait till I would say we wait till we have the module,
Okay, yeah.
my feeling. In talking to Liza about it, between the couple of us, we have a lot of slides from over the years, you know, so I think we can pull the module together pretty quickly. I know slideshows are not the most exciting thing. Matt, you're a contractor. Do you hate this idea?
No, I mean, I think if there's something useful about it in terms of the information that you convey and deliver, you know, information that you don't think people are already aware of, or you really want to drive it home that this is a priority, you know, it's important. Yeah, I mean, I think that's useful. You know, something that's a half hour long is not a big deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if it was more geared towards, you know, like, yeah, like these are acceptable ground covers and seed mixes we found that work, you know, that type of, you know, educating them, but also kind of giving them places that you could go to find those things. Is that kind of what you're after for like useful?
I'm not sure what I'm after in terms
Okay.
of but yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, you know, making contractors aware of the resources that are out there in terms of education and that sort of thing is useful. I don't know how many of these folks, you know, do the full suite of kind of management, you know, all the way through kind of the rehab and restoration if they're just out there mowing. But yeah, I mean, I think it's, you know, people know where the resources are. That's helpful for sure.
Okay. Yeah, in talking to some of them, definitely some of them, you know, with some of the state contracts are getting asked to do those after things when they hadn't before. So. And yeah, I mean, state law is that everybody basically needs a CCB license now too. And I didn't really want to tie it to like credits, you know, that seems too much. Just seems more like a straight module would be good.
Hey, Alan,
Yes,
Um,
ma'am.
the only thing I just, with us having them do that and like take a, you know, a test, it might seem like we all certifying these people, so maybe on the list, put something like we are not certifying these people. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yes, I do. Yes, because we do have a kind of a short, this list is not exhaustive and does not represent endorsement, but I think you're
Okay.
right. Yeah, I kind of want to bolster that statement a little bit, so I think it's a good point to like not make it seem for the contractors that this is some sort of certification as well.
Yeah, that's what yeah, to the
Okay.
contract.
Yep. That's a good point, Katie. Yeah, this is definitely a tricky space, you know, for a lot of us to be in. But
We want to vet the, like, we want, not vet them, but we want to make sure that, yeah,
yeah. So I feel like it's a pretty low bar. Is like, hey, you got to watch this thing, you got to take the test, and then you can be on the list. It feels like a pretty low bar, but also kind of helps with that responsiveness, because that seems to be some of the feedback I'm hearing is that, you know, we've got some folks on here who are not, some are not responding to certain areas and some are just not responding. And that's not good. But you're right, from the contractual perspective, it's not a certification either. So that's a good point. And then when you guys look at this, so we have mechanical removal and we have chemical spray. It gets a little tricky. Generally spray is just spray, but some of the mechanical folks do have spray, like right here, but it gets a little buried. So we kind of say things like, you know, licensed applicators for chemical control. Does anyone feel like we need to like make it 3 types or double count these people? Does this seem to make sense?
I think it makes sense.
Okay, cool. 1 vote for making sense. Any votes for not making any sense?
If someone's looking just purely for spray treatment, I wouldn't have even thought to look on the mechanical side that there might be some spray options. So maybe these people that have both mechanical and spray options are listed twice, once under the spray option and once under the mechanical option.
Or you could just have one list of contractors and then another column that you check off spray or mechanical. Or both.
Yeah, that's a thought. I could say yes, since I don't maybe have to format it. Alexa, you get some magic in there. Okay, yeah, no, that's a thought. I think there might be, I think because if we're also adding service area, we might have to kind of retrofit the whole thing. So Alexa, I think maybe you and I can work on that together and figure that out. The other thing I think would be good to add to this is we do have a document on the website that is put together a while ago, but about questions to ask your contractor. So I think that might be good to tack on to the end of this list as well.
I like that, Alan. And this is just a thought I had, and you can totally toss it, but do we also include people that will do replanting or seeding afterwards on this list as well? Is that a good idea? Not a good, I don't know.
You know, that's a good question, Katie. A lot of these folks do that kind of work. So yeah.
But I don't want to make more work for you. I was just something I was thinking of.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. But it sounds like maybe we're gonna reformat this, so maybe we'll think on that and see if we can't figure out a way to stick that in there, and then we can check in with contractors, you know, if they offer that. That's a good point. Yeah, because I think at least one of the folks on this list actually does hydro seeding as well, so, that's a good point. Okay, anything else about this list that anyone would like to see changed, added, taken away?
Hey, Aaron, this is Matt.
Yeah.
This would definitely create more work for somebody. I'm not sure who, but one thought is there's a fairly short list of contractors on this list that spray, right? And there's definitely, you know, a shortage of folks that are willing to spray, particularly up in the Bandon area. I know Jason's been struggling with that. And I don't know if, you know, if the GAG has the time, the resources, and I probably am thinking of you specifically, but you know, that through the licensing at the state level, we can see what contractors are out there and maybe do a little bit of a search to sort of invite additional contractors in that might want to be on the list, just to sort of enhance the pool of available contractors. But yeah, I mean, that requires some work, but I think there's a need for more folks to be involved in spraying.
Yeah.
I agree. I have been trying to enrich the contractor pool through cold calling in multiple counties based on the ODA license list. A couple of guys showed up at Liza's last December workshop that came out of that. I don't know what will come of it long term in terms of participation here. But I certainly reached out to Douglas, Jackson, Josephine, Lane counties. But that's a good idea from Matt. I agree.
Yeah, duly noted. Jason, were you able to get an actual list, or did you just have to, because last time I used the search function, you know, it's kind of like results and they're static and you have, you know, were you able to get like a, because that's where I've been like, can I get Carrie Prosco to like get me a spreadsheet? Would be easier.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're talking about the same thing, just searching the ODA database, correct?
Yeah, they have like a web page that, you know, but if I remember it, like it kicks out everybody and it's like just like it's just on the web page. There's no like.
No, you can do a search where you put in the category you want and all that stuff. And so you can get as specific as you want, if I'm understanding what you're saying.
Yeah, it was just like I was hoping to be able to like kick out a spreadsheet as in the results, you know.
No, I just printed it out. I see what you're asking.
Yeah.
No.
So you just printed the web page.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Which doesn't necessarily have phone numbers even.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we will look into that. I think it's a good idea.
I will volunteer myself for calling if we need to refresh or update. I'll be that person.
Okay, that'd be great. Thanks, Jason. I think what I'll try to do for you is to set up a you know, a form that matches the whatever format we come up with, so then it can be easily done.
Good.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, because like in regard to what you guys are saying, definitely there is a couple down here, like these guys, they are licensed to spray, but yeah, they probably get lost in the shuffle of looking at this list. So perfect. I also thought, I don't think we need to look at this anymore. So any other comments, questions, concerns? The only other thing I was gonna say about that is, I think when it comes to the disclaimer bits, I think I would also like to, and maybe this goes in the module instead of there, but it probably goes both places. The current ruling from ODA pesticide about these urban environments and that you have to have the ornamental and turf license for these urban and, rural residential type things. Okay, cool. Thanks, everyone. We are flying along. Okay. Let's see. So I think I might do a couple partners. So we have the drone demo highlights. Kevin from State Parks was going to try to join after 3. I'd moved the thing back, and since we're a little ahead of time, I think what I might do is so I think I'm going to give an update from Norma Klein at OSU. She's the forestry extension agent there. She had a couple things to share. So there's a researcher at OSU who's looking into alternative building materials. And biomass is one of those things. And they kind of want to try some gorse as in their tests. So I did let her know they might need a permit to move it around to start out with. So makes me a little nervous that they want to truck some gorse somewhere, but they're looking for about a pickup truck load. Mulched gorse would be great, or chipped, but they would take whole plants as well. So, and the researcher did promise to put it in some sort of closed container so that we don't drag it all the way up I-5 to Corvallis. So if anyone has any, if anyone's chipping mulch, that might be a good place to just blast some into a container for them. Yes, Marie.
I was just gonna say, I've reached out to Ken and our team here to see if we can be helpful, but I haven't heard back yet. But as soon as I do, I'll let Norma know.
Perfect, thanks. Yeah, and I will, since we're talking about Miss Norma, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to stick her email in the chat right now. If I can find the chat box. There we go. Okay. Okay, so Norma, that's Norma's email. So yeah, just touch base with her if you have something that's going to work and is maybe probably easy access. And then I'm gonna stick something else in the chat. So Steve, I think his name's Fitzgerald. I think it was a typo. He's the OSU Extension Silvicultural Specialist, and they are updating their gorse fact sheet. And I'm gonna stick this in the chat. So Norma was just looking for some feedback on that. She wanted me to point out that this fact sheet is part of a series called Invasive Weeds in Forest Land. So it's really geared towards, forest land conversion, restoration, that type of thing. So if you do make comments, and you can, again, send comments to Norma. I think it'd be good for us to weigh in on this. I will certainly take a look at it. But if, editing is your thing, please do go look. And yeah, just remember it's kind of from a forestry perspective. So if you wanted to go in and talk a lot about grass seed, maybe that's not the place for you. So that's in the chat as well. This will all get sent out in the minutes as well too. Yeah, so that's everything from Norma. And then to take up a little bit more time. I was thinking that we could, maybe just go ahead and do some the rest of the partner updates now, and then we'll come back to the drone, at the end, if that works for everyone. I'll go last. And so I'm really looking to see what everybody's up to this spring and summer, you know, where you're at with projects. Is there anything we're neglecting? Does anybody need help? Just a good idea of what's happening coming up this year. So, who's why? You guys want to go first?
Yeah, go first. Yeah, we're gearing up for the gorse season. We like to ideally spray these plants twice. If it's a large infestation, we like to get in a spring and a fall spray, depending on, you know, how much we get to. And we just went through our database and we updated all of our sites, and we merged like sites all the way from 2007 to sites taken last year. So we have everything updated, historical and new. So we're pretty excited to hit the ground running. We'll be visiting several old sites, but in addition, we've been teaming up with local foresters and particular Weyerhaeuser. So I had this wacky idea to have the Weyerhaeuser chainsaw raffle. So I called up Still and I asked for the regional marketer. And I said, hey, would you mind donating a chainsaw? Because we want to go after several weeds that are in forest land. Gorse, jabata grass, bitty, just to name a few. And the idea behind this is that we have a chainsaw donated. And for every weed a person submits, and all they need is a picture of the weed and Latin long, that's it. And then we'll go out and verify it. For each location they send in, they get a raffle ticket. And in October 2024, we'll have a drawing of the raffle tickets. And this is a way to cover a lot of ground through surveying that we might not otherwise cover. And also through this agreement, we've opened up a huge tract of Weyerhaeuser ground. And looking into the old data, I know that there's gorse out there. So, yeah, we're excited about that. But other than that, it's just, you know, knocking on doors and treating gorse that we have, we've already treated. So Whiskey Run Trails, we're looking to host the annual pedal and pole, but that won't be until the fall. The pedal and pole went well this year. We're at a point at Whiskey Run Trails where the majority of gorse on the trails are seedlings. And in the event, I forget how many people showed up, maybe 20?
I think we had 16 cyclists and then a few
couple
others.
walkers.
So yeah, at least 20.
Yeah, so around 20 people showed up, and almost 100 pounds of gorse seedlings were pulled in this event. So a great volunteer effort, so tapping into, just excitement and stuff like that. But yeah, overall, just treating old gorse sites and trying to keep excitement going into 2024.
Well, that's awesome. Can I participate in your chainsaw raffle?
We're looking at expanding it next with aquatic weeds, maybe in ODF and W. I have a meeting on that, but we can't get ahead of ourselves. The chainsaws first.
Chainsaws first, yeah. So are you guys, do you have like are you just asking for them to text you a picture of the location? Do you have like a geo-reference form or?
No, it's simply, so the invasives weed coordinator at Weyerhaeuser, she's a forester. They just have to email her with a photograph and a picture.
Okay.
And the name. So if they just said gorse and then they sent the photograph and the location, GPS location, or maybe it's a geo-referenced photo. It's just, we wanted it to be as simple as possible to submit surveys, because the more data points we gather, if we can make it as simple as possible, then we can go out there and verify it. It's far easier to drive and just stop at points than it is to do that slow drive along those roads and try to gather all the weeds. So Yeah, those people out there, they know the weed locations. They've been working out, many of them have been working out there for a decade. So they know the big gorse spots and all that stuff, but easy ones to like the low hanging fruit. That's what we want. So, and then we'll build it from there.
Well, I think that's real smart. Cool. I muted myself. So Kevin is here from Oregon Shores. So Kevin, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself real quick? We're just in the middle of partner updates, so.
Come on. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, great. Just want to make sure my settings are right. So I'm Kevin Herkamp. I'm the Ocean Shores Coordinator with Oregon Parks and Recreation Department. And Tyler Blanchette is a permit coordinator, and he should be joining any second now.
Thanks for coming. So, like I said, we're just talking about we're doing our partner updates right now, and Kuzwa just went, so we're just gonna keep going around here, and we are just looking for upcoming what folks are up to this summer. Alex, you want to go ahead?
Sure. So we, the Refuge with Fish and Wildlife will hopefully have an intern and a seasonal technician like we have the past few years. So there really are capacity to actually get things done on the ground on the refuge. So that'll be good. We'll, keep up with the treatments on the gorse that we've been doing. We do still have some patches out kind of on the margins of the marsh in the Naleston unit, and then where we've been working with Kuzwa out at Bandon Marsh. Still gorse out there, Scotch broom, all the fun yellow flowering plants. So we'll stay on that. We should have funding to keep contracting treatment out at Coquille Point just to stay on top of that and keep that site looking good. And that's really what we're doing. I think kind of the same as maintaining what we've been accomplishing.
Excellent. That's a big step, even though it doesn't feel like a lot of things. Yeah. Are the margins places you guys have not treated previously?
I think they've done some. It's like, a few bushes that are way out on the marsh. So you either have to like romp through the marsh or kayak out there. And so they're just kind of inconvenient locations. So I think we may have done it one year and then we didn't do it the next year. And so I really want to try to focus on some of these more kayakable locations to start making progress on those ones.
Yeah, seems like you could have a Rochambeau with the interns about who gets to do that.
I know, that sounds like the funnest thing to do. Sign me up to kayak and kill some gorse.
Agreed. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for staying on it up there. And that on again, off again is such a classic thing because it is amazing how difficult it can be sometimes. So
yeah, because it's like one bush, but one bush can become many bushes. So
many bushes, exactly. So it's also easy to forget about one bush. So
exactly.
Yes. All right, cool. Thanks, Alex. Matt, you want to give us some Elk River thoughts?
Sure. So we're actively mowing right now, mulching, mowing. I think we're going to keep the mowing up probably through late spring, maybe early summer. I think we'll probably mow a couple hundred acres more by say June. And then I think we're going to throttle back on mowing for a while until we have a better sense of funding forecasts a couple of 2-3 years down the road. And mostly focus on the conversion process. So we're actively planting, spraying the sites that have already been mowed. And I think the strategy is basically to try to not get ahead of ourselves and open up too much ground that we can't keep up with. So.
Great, thanks. If anyone hasn't seen, all the mowing in Elk River is astonishing. Whole hillsides have been mowed at this point, so it's pretty awesome stuff. Okay, Carrie has joined us. I want to acknowledge Carrie. Carrie, you want to introduce yourself just real quick?
Yes, good afternoon. Carrie Perosco, Oregon Department of Agriculture's Noxious Weed Program.
Thank you. Let's see, who wants to go next on updates? Don't everybody jump up at once. Ivy, oh, Marie, okay, thank you. I have to take a phone call from preschool, so I am just gonna be right here.
I'll go, and then Ivy, how about you can go? Mine will be pretty quick. For those of you that haven't heard already, I wanted to share with you that Wild Rivers Coast Alliance, we are transitioning our name to be Abandoned Dunes Charitable Foundation. So starting in 2024, in addition to Bandon Preserve, which has been our funding source, primary funding source for all of our grants, our owner has dedicated another par 3 golf course out here at Bandon Dunes to community giving. So we'll increase what we can do in terms of funding and grants in 2024 and beyond. We are bringing in some other priorities from some of the other funding tranches that the Kaisers and Bandon Dunes have had over the years, but by and large, our priorities will remain what they have been in terms of our focus on conservation strategies, including Gorse is obviously one of our large priorities, and then economic development and community support. So we look forward in the next year or so to really flesh out what that means. But in terms of funding and timeline, we're also fleshing out what the timeline looks like, but not quite ready to announce a funding cycle quite yet. So it will be coming in 2024, but we're working on what the timing looks like. But that is a big transition that's happening for our organization. So commitment is still there, new name.
And we appreciate Bandon Dunes supporting this effort as always. Okay, let's see. Katie, you want to talk a little bit more about what you got going?
Sure. I got 2 Gorse applications this year. They're both in forestry. One smaller, one's larger. And the larger ones are one Grassy Knob area. So those are my 2 Gorse applications this year. So I'm looking forward to getting that. And then we'll have signups again in the fall. So yeah, that's all I really got so far. I think I'll have at least 2 applications next fall that I know of. And then, yeah, so I'm just in the process of getting all my applications ranked and put into the system. So, because I got other ones besides Gorse, so I'm just walking through them all right now. And then all CPP, of course, but I think do you want me to talk about that now, Aaron?
If you want, I was going to go over it too. So,
okay.
Know, yeah.
I'll let you go.
Okay.
We can do it later.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I just want to also just push Katie's program again, the CIS. If you have landowners that are doing agricultural work or have small woodlands, she's got money for them to do a lot of different practices with forest control. And so, let's try to support Katie and get folks pushed over there. Katie, is there, as you know, in the past, I've just been, hey, here's Katie, go talk to her. Is there anything more we should do or different that you'd like to see from us as partners?
Just, letting people know, and I don't really know what else can make people less hesitant, to sign up, with us that you guys could do, except for just letting them know that the program's available. And the program, also, I have money through the Inflation Reduction Act for carbon sequestration if they don't do pile and burn. So if they're chipping in place, the funding pool is even larger. So those 2 funding pools we can look at now through that.
Okay, cool. For anyone who doesn't know, the way these programs work is, you sign a contract with NRCS and they have practices that are acceptable and they have reimbursement rates per practice. So that's what Katie's getting at, is if you're doing these other ones, it sounds like there's a little bit more money there, which is great. Katie, do you have any landowners who are doing it that, like, is there ever an opportunity for you to say, oh, you could talk with this landowner to see how it's going? Is that something that happens, or?
I think once I get like the grassy knobs one kind of more further along, I think she'd be willing to let people know about it.
Okay.
She's a pretty easygoing landowner that I think would be willing to tell people about the program. And yeah, that I think she'd be willing to go through it. And another thing too about your programs is if you guys have money just for spraying, all the mowing, the chipping, you can send them my way after you do the chipping, and then I can do like the 3-year spray, or the livestock watering, or fencing that needs to be done, or tree planting if you don't have tree planting funds.
Okay,
So
yeah, that's a good point. Just that we can help them with some upfront, and you can help with some of those other things.
follow up stuff.
Hey, Katie, I was just wondering, and this can be a different place of the agenda, can GAG sponsor an information night, a field trip, something where we invite landowners to find out more, at the Grassy Knob site, a little field trip, or especially since we don't have the Gorse Blossom Festival, an information pizza and a beer night. I don't know, something like that where we could target. I don't know, can GAG do something like it to help?
I think if we decide to do the OCPP, I think that would be fabulous if we could do something like that. And then you could gauge for the application, we can gauge how many people would want to sign up for that. So yeah, that could work. Yeah, it's just NLCS, we don't have any funding for food, unfortunately. I don't know.
Oh, I just mean garner the resources from the partnership. It wouldn't wouldn't be on you to sponsor the meeting, but it would be a GAG sponsored meeting.
Yeah, no, I think that would be great. That could help a lot.
But in anticipation of drumming up more folks to go into your CIS program that Aaron and you were just talking about, I don't know, I think it would help.
I think so too.
Yeah,
some people still don't know about us.
Katie, what is your deadline for the application on the calendar year?
Normally like the middle of November, like November 18th time area. But they can fill out an application year round. So
yeah, I think if maybe we can get that that grassy knob, a landowner that's participated really helps maybe in the event that Carrie's talking about. They can present and talk and
yeah, I can whole pastoral area is coming along a little bit further. Like I think she'll be able to, I think she's gonna put her livestock watering stuff in this summer. But the forestry is gonna take a couple years, I think, still. So
okay, but maybe in the fall could be a good, see how it's looking kind of thing, if she's up for that.
okay.
Do you think the timing for that would be September? Is October too late if you need things by November? I'm just trying so it doesn't fall off the radar with this.
I mean, October, it could also be fine. Sometimes people forget to fill out. If there's not a deadline, people sometimes don't actually fill out an application. And September can also be kind of a busy month for me with the end of our physical calendar.
Okay, well, maybe we'll circle back on this and come up with some brainstorm. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you again.
Yeah. Let's see. Carrie, you want to go next? We're just doing partner updates.
Sure. I guess the biggest update would be very soon. The Oregon State Weed Board will be meeting mid-February and announcing the grant, the Oregon State Weed Board grants that are going to be awarded for the 2024 season. And of course, we have partners here in the Gorse Action Group in Coos and Curry that have applied for funds for continued gorse control. And so those awards will be announced mid-February. I think that's my biggest announcement. Of course, Oregon Department of Agriculture continues and will continue in 2024 to monitor the biocontrol releases, the gorse thrips. Our specialist, our biocontrol specialist, Joel Price, has time targeted for the coast. Quite a few of the releases for the gorse thrip, they began 3 years ago, and a lot of them, of course, were made in and around the Bandon area, and then also down into Curry County as well. So that monitoring will continue in 2024 on the biocontrol front. And then I've just been busy over the winter months, trying to plug into all things Bandon and ordinance and things like that that I could lend an ear or support in any way for supporting the good gorse work going on there. And then I guess I would chime in. Apologies, I'm late. You guys probably already talked about this, but I did take a hike with my son, who was home for Christmas break from Arizona. He wanted to see the ocean, was tired of seeing cactuses. And so we came over to the ocean and I'd never done the hike, the Lost Lake hike. And oh man, you guys have removed some gorse. My jaw dropped. I just could not believe what you guys have done in there. Kudos. So hand clapping for you, and what an amazing hike. I'm going to be doing it again, especially to monitor all that gorse removal. So thank you, Aaron, and partners.
Yeah, there's been only like 45 people involved, so it's great. Thanks, Carrie. Yeah, it's a big deal. It's shocking out there. Cool. Okay, so I see that Tyler has joined us. Tyler, I just wanted to acknowledge your presence. You want to just introduce yourself real quick?
Sure. I work with state parks. I'm the Ocean Shore Permit Coordinator. Lately, I've been working with Jason on getting a project going right there around Tishatang. So, yep.
Cool.
Thanks, Aaron.
For being here. Yep.
Yep.
Cool. Goldie, would you like to give us some partner updates?
Hi, everyone. My camera's really funny, so I'm not going to put it on, but I'm still here. I really don't have a lot. I mean, most of our work is like we shuttle it off to partners. So yes, thank you so much for Curry Watershed Partnerships for all the work that they do, Lost Lake area and beyond. And then Ivy has been leading the charge out in the Coquille watershed, getting those outlier populations and and Anders has been helping a little bit with the survey. I know that there is one new treatment that's kind of been coming across our radar, and that's also at New River that Kip has been really itching to get. And so hopefully we'll maybe treat that this year. And yeah, and then a little bit of like updates. Well, right now, we still don't have a federal budget, so we're trying to figure things out. I am writing the annual treatment plan again for the Coos Bay District this year. So heads up to partners. If you have treatments that you want to do this fiscal year, please make sure you're sending me those shape files so I can get them on our treatment plan. And really great news, super exciting, is that the district has approved for not one, but 2 terms. These are year-long, maybe even longer positions for, helping our weed world. So BLM should have 2 people on, sometime soon to help out with weed work.
Awesome. Thanks, Goldie. Let's see. Scott Nicholson, what are you guys doing this summer?
Not a lot to report. This winter, when time has allowed, we started at Seabird Drive or lane there at the south end of Bandon, and we've been mechanically removing gorse. We made it south to Beach Loop. Given everything we've had going on, I think that has been a pretty good start in the right direction. We're going to continue to go south stop and when the Gorse quits, which will probably be the California border by then, I'm guessing. And then so spring, moving into spring and fall, we'll be doing our shoulder spraying in the spring and then brush spraying in the fall, annually like we always do. Other than that, not a lot to report.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for getting on it. You guys do have your hands full. A lot of cracks out there right now. All right, Jason, you want to go?
Sure. So Bandon's Gorse abatement is run by district. We have 7 formal acknowledged districts. I've always wondered why the parts of our urban growth boundary that are not in the district plan are not labeled as districts. And I had a conversation with our planning director about it, and we looked back at the intergovernmental agreement with the county, and it turns out that our entire urban growth boundary is governed under our city's Gorse abatement program, which means that we will be bringing in Bandon State Airport and Sunset City, which is unincorporated neighborhoods south of city limits. So I'm informally calling those our 8th and 9th districts. It doesn't, we won't change anything about our timing of our enforcement for the existing districts. But Liza and I have had lots of conversations about how to bring the airport into this conversation because of the role it could play in emergency management if we had a huge earthquake event that rendered us an island out here, and that the airport might play an important role in emergency management and that sort of thing. So that's big news in expanding the capacity of our program.
Jason, if you need to know the names for that, the airport there, I do work on another weed out there, mat grass, and I have some names for you if you need contacts. And they've been really down at the Cape Blanco airport, again, totally on that emergency management time frame of what they're doing at the Cape Blanco airport. So they would tie in. I think that is a, Gorse and emergency management access with Cascadia is definitely on their radar.
Okay, I'll take you up on that. Thank you.
All good, Jason?
All good.
Cool, thank you. Ivy. Anything to share?
Yeah, we've just been kind of working on outreach while it rains, getting ready for some spring treatments. And then yesterday we were able to plant one of our sites that was just solid gorse. So that kind of feels nice to get some good things back on the ground. And now that all the gorse has been mowed and sprayed a few times, there's a ton of natives just popping back up. So that was just kind of a nice thing to see.
Agreed. Thank you. Are you guys, do you guys feel like you have a pretty good handle on all your outliers these days? Or do you feel like you still have things hiding in the corner somewhere?
I'm sure there's still little things hiding, more keep popping up, but the known ones are all pretty well contained. We're still plugging away at Colito, which is one of the biggest ones right around here. And we just keep finding more, but the deeper in we go, and hopefully once people start seeing their neighbors gorse die, they'll be a little more willing to participate, but.
Yep. All right, cool. Thank you. Robert, do you have anything to share?
Not a whole lot. No Gorse specific projects. We're still working on fuels reduction when able. Pretty much done for the winter once we get our crews back on. I think we've got a little bit more to do out in some of our Allegheny projects up Coos River. I think we just finished up some fuel reduction work there around Bassendorf Beach. And then in Curry County, they've been working primarily Rogue River South, it sounds like, on some fuel reduction projects. And they're going to look at this this winter and spring to try to do some outreaches in Sixes River and Elk River and try to get some fuel reduction projects going up there in the northern portion of Curry County too, if possible. But I haven't heard a timeline or when those meetings are going to start trying to do outreaches to the community and the public. So.
Okay, so you guys have, is it Firewise money or different money?
Yeah, there's some, it's all kind of based off the Firewise program. You know, it's each year, a lot of that funding changes. You know, it seems like every 6 months to a year, they change a little bit of the verbiage. You can only use some of the Title III and some of that money in certain areas, and then they open it up when they can't move it. We do have that, I think it's Western States Grant in Curry County that was awarded last year. I believe that's what the Curry County guys are primarily using right now. Just defensible space type stuff and fuel reductions and prepping for large fire situations.
Okay, yeah. And then can you tell me who's kind of in charge of that outreach down here in Curry, particularly the Elk and Sixes stuff? Because
right now it's Russell Simmons out of our Gold Beach office, the assistant unit forester down there.
Yeah. It might be good to have a conversation about where we're at and where they're going and all that. Thanks. Let's see.
Hey, Erin, can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
When the crew was out at Bassendorf, did they find gorse or was that just all Scotch broom removal?
That's not me.
To my knowledge, it was all Scotch broom. The guys weren't complaining about digging gorse thistles or needles out of their skin for the next week or two. So I don't think they encountered any gorse. I think it was mostly just limbing up, removal of Scotch broom and maybe limbing up some of the coastal brush and pine trees and things like that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Let's see. So, Liza, do you have anything you want to add? No. Okay. Kevin, do you have any partner updates you'd like to add? We're going to move into the demo, the drone talk next. So.
Yeah, I think the only update I guess I will say is I had a meeting with Tori last week, and we're going to be reinitiating some of our discussions on how to kind of better align and coordinate some of our approaches for gorse removal and the permitting, at least on those ocean fronting parcels. So we're looking at scheduling something later in February. So anyways, just wanted to kind of bring that up, that we're reinitiating some of those discussions that occurred early on, about 9 months ago, whatever it was, when this kind of first came onto our radar. So so anyways, looking forward to it. But we had some pretty productive discussions last week. So
thank you. Goldie just put something in the chat that I think is worth mentioning. They are doing kayak training in June, and if anybody wants to join, they have a few more open spots. So get a hold of Goldie. Anyone else? Tyler, do you have anything you would like to add before we move on? Okay. I'll go. So yeah, so we talked about RCPP. So RCPP is a regional conservation partnership program. It's an NRCS program. So it's a different way to move the funds, basically, as I understand it. We have had a series of meetings. Curry Watersheds, sorry, I was shuffling. Curry Watersheds has met with Katie and some of the other NRCS folks, Heather Medina, and their folks from the RCPP about that. So RCPP is, there's a lot of jargon, and there's a couple different ways this thing cuts, but it's, quite a bit of money. It sounds like, anyone RCPP can get, up to 25 million. And they've removed the match requirement, which is great. It used to be a 1-to-1 match. Essentially what it requires is a partner to kind of take on, the responsibility of signing up the landowners and the contracts and, dispersing the money that way, but it follows basically all of the NRCS, practices and guidelines, including, what they call the EQIP, eligibility, which is, making sure that the property is eligible for the programs. So Curry SWCD is looking at that. Our biggest current hurdle, to moving forward with that is, the fact that the money comes with no administration dollars, so no indirect costs. That's hard for an organization like ourselves, but we're gonna put our heads together and see if we can't figure that out. In that case, I think even though there's no match, there is scoring. Your application does get scored for partner contributions. So some of you that are funders, that would certainly count, to that for us in this process. So it's a big deal. I think it'd be a big lift for the area if we could make it happen. Again, it's still small woodlands and agricultural lands, but those do seem to be some of the holdings that are, struggling a little bit more and require a lot more resources to get a handle on. So, we're gonna keep, taking a look at that. It's early on in the funding cycle, as I understand, so it'd be good to get it in there if we can. If anyone else has been partnered to an RCPP and you haven't been involved in our conversations, please let me know. We'd love to learn what you know. And then, otherwise, we are, got a lot of sites to follow up on. Yeah. And, so like, the Lost Lake out there, I am really proud of that. It's only taken 5 years to get a huge chunk of it mowed. We've been working on some of the private and getting that under control, but, really proud of that. We're gonna go back in and, clean up the margins around the mowing, and then there'll be probably follow-up spray in the fall with that. And so that'll be ongoing. Matt's got the work in Elk River that he talked about. Getting a little bit more, interest down in Brookings. There's a subdivision down there that a lot of high-end homes, they turn over a lot. It's a lot of out-of-town landowners. We've been working in there for a number of years. It's right next to Harris Beach State Park. I have been getting some unsolicited, interest from folks. Someone submitted an Oregon invasive species hotline, for Gorse down there. And it just hurts a little bit because it was a vacant lot that, was treated for a number of years. I think we helped once or twice. The landowner was doing it themselves. It got sold. The landowner that currently has it said, no, we got it. I don't think they've got it once since that time. So now those bushes are back to 5 feet tall. So, the struggle is real. But it does seem to be that with the fires, the folks down there, people are just getting more aware and calling out their neighbors. So, that's helpful. What else do we have? Really just a lot of Gorse follow-up, I guess. We did also, we just ran an RFP. We just closed it. We're hoping to award soon. It was for master vegetation services. So kind of back to the contractor thing. This way, we plan to award multiple 3-year contracts to some vegetation management contractors so that we can kind of keep things moving along, minimize paper work. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. And, hopefully maybe we'll get some new folks in the mix. So, Other than that, that's pretty much all I have, for us. Tyler, I see your note, you lost your audio. Was there anything you wanted to add here in partner updates before we move to the drone demo stuff?
I don't think so. Just me and Jason have been working on getting a SUP to do the work at Tishatang. Pretty sure we're pretty close at getting that finished up. Just waiting to hear a couple things back from a couple folks on my side and a couple folks on the city side. And then we should be ready to yeah, put a bow on it and wrap it up. So that's all I
Cool.
got. Thanks.
Thanks. Yeah, cool. That's great. Did I miss anybody? Okay, that's it for partner updates. Okay, so I promised, I have a video to show of the drone demo for those of you that weren't there. So let me just get this keyed up. Okay, so sorry, I just gotta keep moving you guys around a little bit here. All right, does everybody see the screen? Okay, so if you weren't there, here's kind of just a quick snippet of how this went with the drone. Oak. So I think this was a learning experience for everyone involved. Liza and team put this together, although it was fairly quick. And there was permits, and I think we learned a lot in this process. So just so everybody knows, there was no herbicide released that day. It was just dye and water for the purposes of the demonstration. That drone is fairly large. I'm going to put up another document that I have. That is this it? Give me a second here. Sorry. So here's the drone. They're fairly large. These are custom drones. This contractor, I believe, is out of Arkansas, Alabama. And, but there are some folks around here looking into getting licensed for this work. Peter Van S, who came to a meeting back in the fall. He's a local contractor that's looking into doing this type of work. I believe this larger drone carried about 8 gallons of spray. And you can see there in the beginning of the video, it kind of comes out real heavy and then he backs it off. So he has the ability to change the rate at which the herbicide does come out of there. So, you know, a lot of factors involved. I think in general, so there's some prop wash with that thing. So I think in general, a little bit of wind is helpful for the operator in that he can kind of use that to kind of drift it down. But yeah, it was quite the scene out there, I have to say. It was a lot to see. It's a lot of visibility. State Representative Court Boyce showed up, paid us a visit during the demo. Carrie put this one pager together to share with him, you know, and others for that. So this is the crew here and some of the folks. There's Nick and Justin from State Parks and Liza. The contractor also did a steep slope certification. Rope access workers generally are certified as, it's called a BRAT certification, and that ensures that they are, you know, safe doing this work out here. So, yeah, it was a learning experience. And I don't know if anyone else was there, want to share any thoughts on that. Oh, I do want to say, sorry, before I get to that, I was going to post, because Parks is involved, we've got Kevin and Tyler here from Oregon Shores. If you don't know, Oregon Shores is a recreational easement on our Oregon Shores. And it's a little bit of a moving target in different places, but you know, these guys do have to be consulted for permits and stuff before this happens. And I was going to throw it in the chat also, but State Parks themselves is going through a rule for drones. That rulemaking has been going on for a couple years now. And I do have the website address. I'm going to stick it in the chat for everyone, that if you want to keep updated on it, this is kind of where they're at with things. Sounds like there was a pause for a little while, but they have closed public commenting and are drafting those rules. So Kevin and Tyler, is there anything you guys want to add to this discussion or say? I guess Kevin's gone. Tyler, you're still here.
Yeah, Kevin had to hop off.
Yeah.
He had to run to another meeting, so it's just me. But yeah, I mean, overall, as far as the demo goes, we view it as a success. Great step forward for you guys and for getting a permit through. I think from our perspective, it was great working with Liza to figure out what you guys needed, so that way we could get that going. There were a couple, I mean, so overall a success. There were a couple little things that I did want to call out though. I think that the contractor did spray a little bit of the dye on the beach. Ideally, you know, just because we're trying to really control public perspective on that. Definitely some stuff we'd like to talk with the contractors, like for future things like that, just for public perspective. Just because people, you know, we're totally in support though of safe herbicide use. But that was just dye. So anyway, for public perspective, we'd just like to make sure that that's kind of called out in permit review and things like that. Other than that, worked out great. From our perspective, I think the tide did come up and try to steal a couple cones, but nothing crazy there other than those two little things. So appreciate Liza working with us and getting that permit through the door. So thanks.
Yeah. Thanks, Tyler.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem with the drone is the public perception. I don't know if I'm that brave. Just out in front of everywhere there. But you know, I think there's some limitations with all of our tools. You know, there's some pluses. I think it's you know, I see this probably really useful on those big tracts of gorse where you want to spray seed sprout post mulching. I think would be a really good application method. These drone operators can also spread grass seed out of these drones. So, you know, if you guys are thinking about it, it is another thing to think about is, you know, it could be an herbicide application and then a grass seed application. So,
right.
yeah.
And we definitely see the value of it. I mean, like any tool, it needs to be used safely and responsibly. And I mean, you know, I can't really speak to the greater rule making piece because, you know, I'm just Ocean Shores, right? So I don't, you know, all the rest of how parks goes about rule making and everything. But yeah, I mean, drones are a hot topic right now. Everybody's wants to get one or use one, or some people don't like them. So again, we just want to have that conversation with folks on the front end of like, hey, we want to make sure we use this thing responsibly. So that way we can continue to use it responsibly. So anyway, thanks, sir. Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Do you know if the rulemaking, the greater, is Oregon Shores a part of that? Do you know if it'll be, or will just like, will the easement get the same treatment or will it have its own you know, like as a jurisdictional thing?
So I'm not involved with the rulemaking process. I've just kind of heard it from the periphery. But my understanding is it's most likely going to be broke down like in an area by area basis. So I think there's going to be some places where it's going to be, hey, you know, run wild and free. And then there's other places that are going to be, yeah, you can use it, but with a permit only. And then there's going to be certain places where it's just like, hey, no, we don't, you know, we don't allow them to be here, similar to some of the fish and wildlife areas. I think that some of the NWRs and things like that they just kind of have an outright like, nah, we have protected sensitive things here. So we just ask that you guys not use them in certain places. So I think that's how it's going to be broken down as more of a thumbs up, thumbs down, and a yep with a permit. I think that's how it's gonna go. So I'm not sure. It might take a little bit more. There might be a couple more steps, but I think that we're through the phase one, right, of the public comment period. So, and that's really not trying to play possum on you guys, but that's really all I kind of know about it. As far as just because I'm really more just with the ocean shore permitting, and I don't really drive that rulemaking stuff for the drones. So
yeah, I get that. Thanks.
Yep.
Hey, Aaron, I just did want to chime in. I was there during the demo and kind of like trying to interact with much of the public and neighbors as I could, both before that demonstration happened and during the demonstration and even after, visiting with different neighbors. So yeah, I got so much positive feedback when I was there at the demo. Most people are just curious, like, what's going on? And they'd be like, oh, that's so cool. And they didn't know anything. A lot of people are from out of state and they don't know anything about gorse, but then they'd want to tell me about their weed and what state they're in. And they wanted advice on how to kill that weed. And so it was just really positive interaction. A couple neighbors that live right there. The biggest feedback I got from them was, and this will come out, I'm sure, with the rulemaking of when not to use drones with the nesting birds. That was their biggest concern right down there. And that was the biggest feedback. But overall, the neighbors that did show up that day and I've had interactions with after very much hate gorse and know we need lots of tools to take care of it in the area. So I just wanted to share that. I also did want to just make a small correction. The drone operator there is from Oregon. They're from the Salem area. It was the training company doing the certification. It was from the south part of the US. So yeah, that wasn't Oregon, but it was another lesson learned. And we already know this from contractors we use for mechanical and herbicide applications. Locals better. I mean, just locals we need local. It's harder for someone to come. It's more expensive for someone to come and mobilize from outside the area. And especially with, the weather we have, the wind, you can have no work in a given day and, all those parameters. So more and more drone operators are coming online. Like you mentioned, we have some right there on the coast that are one in particular that's already tied in with the Gorse Action Group. And I just got through reviewing 65 grant proposals through the Oregon State Weed Board, and drones all across the state. Survey work, as well as applications are definitely coming online. So we're right there with this trend and what's happening next for this in the toolbox. And then interestingly enough, with the governor's climate task force group and things like that, of thinking outside the box of how we can address climate resiliency, the use of drones has come up a lot in terms of reduced fuel. And instead of doing helicopter or aircraft, which takes a lot of fuel, of doing battery operated drone as one of the measures or parameters we could use. So I just find those connections interesting, that drones intersect with climate resiliency as well.
I would just echo the bird thing. I think we all know that here, but from the refuge perspective, we would want to see any drone use, especially like in Bandon, where the offshore seabird islands are so close, to happen outside of the breeding window.
Yep, duly noted. But it is easy to forget about. I'm not gonna lie.
Those oyster catchers, they'll chase you down. They'll take down the drone.
Right.
Hey, Aaron, this is Matt. I was curious. So as you know all too well, like you got to get pretty thorough coverage, herbicide coverage to effectively kill gorse. And I'm wondering, from what you witnessed, I mean, do you think that a drone operation would be fairly effective and efficient at targeting individual plants, say on cliffside, steep slopes, that kind of thing? Or do you think they'll struggle to get that level of coverage per plant?
I think for mature gorse, you're just gonna kind of burn the tops, right? But I think if it is like, one or two plants way up on the cliff, it's certainly more cost effective. And I think you could, if you were, I almost think it might be a little bit better with like a single plant or like a small patch, to where they can really concentrate on getting it covered. It's just that underneath part that we normally get with hand application, where you can reach up under and around, that I think might be lacking, but that's just my opinion. But it could be a first step as well. Like, Jason and I have talked this back and forth a little bit too, with the, because we've used the repellers on the cliffs, and it's a feat of bravery to do that work, and we'll probably eventually burn up anyone willing to do it. So if you can, if it is mature and you can burn off a lot of that extra material so it's easy for them to get through, like that might be a worthwhile endeavor. But I've thought about it on like some of the BPA right away, with some of those real steep slopes and stuff, where it's just, maybe it's better just to give it a hard time, even though you don't get it like full coverage, than just to leave it sit.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, like Alex's one bush out there, I mean, that might be useful, although that deprives an intern of a kayaking experience. And I feel like that's important too. So.
I would add, in some respects, in terms of coverage, Matt, when you're in an old growth, mature stand, even when you're on the ground right next to the plants, it's still that analogy of peeling back the layers of the onion. And so whether it's drone or ground operation with an old growth, big canopy stand, there's still that factor. And then added to that is some of these areas we're just going to have to use drones. There's just no other way. And yeah, you're going to have to do multiple times of peeling back the layers of that onion as more and more is exposed with each treatment. But it's definitely going to have to be, we just have areas that are inaccessible by humans. So.
Yeah, Carrie, I struggle with like, you know, in these hard to reach places, we hit it a few times with the drone, but then when the natives start coming back in, you know, like that to me is the tough point, you know, is like, how often do you burn it off versus allow, you know, that's the struggle I see.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we do have different herbicides, you know, we can, depending on what's coming back, if it's grasses, I don't know, we, you know,
yeah,
we're going to be learning a lot still.
Yeah. Alrighty. I will, Carrie and I will work on, that one page, you know, one or front and back, you know, for the drone, just to kind of put it out there some more. Can probably put something up on the website too, just as part of our materials, and our demos, but, that's pretty much all I have for the meeting. Is there anything I'm missing or anything anyone else wants to share today? Okay. Well, I appreciate everyone showing up today. A little bit of abbreviated meeting, but I think that's okay every now and again. So, I'll probably do like normal and get us a doodle for another meeting. I'd like to get us one before summer, so, and then we can do our normal kind of September, October time. October seems to work pretty well for everybody. We've been hitting that pretty regularly, so, yeah, Jason, you're on the team for contractor list. Carrie, we went through all that. We got some good ideas. Jason's gonna help contact. So, yeah. All right, thanks everyone. We're done 4 minutes before 4. I'm gonna call it because I gotta go pick up a sick kiddo at preschool. So I appreciate everyone. And yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron.